Hi and welcome to the Ruby and Pearls knitting channel. My name is Leah and I'm coming to you today with a traditional format podcast. Thank you so much for being here. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back, and if you're new, welcome. I have had a little flurry of new subscribers, so if you're new, thank you so much for being here. You might have found me through some pattern roundup videos that I've filmed lately, but today is just a cozy, casual, sit down podcast episode. I have a dog right here that's requiring some head scratches. They're both very sleepy. As you will have seen at the start of this video, we've just been to the beach this morning and they've been running around like crazy, so they're both quite tired and filling my house with sand. But they've both had a little nap, so they might be slightly more alert again now. They've napped on me, so I haven't been able to film because I didn't want to get up and disturb them. But yes, now I am here. It is a very grey and gloomy September day today. It has just started to rain. It has promised to rain all day today and be quite grey and miserable, so I'm really pleased that I managed to get out before it started raining. And as you will have seen in the video, in the video clip at the beginning, we got really lucky this morning. There were 0 other people on our local favourite beach, which is extremely rare actually. In summer obviously it's unheard of. But I always really look forward to this time of year because myself, the dogs and the other dog walkers have the beach back, but today it was just us and it was perfect. So yeah, really happy that I got that done this morning. So if you hear some rain in the background, it might get quite noisy, we will see, but I hope you can see enough at the moment. I have 3 finished objects to share with you today, 2 whips and some chatting about what's coming next. Let's begin with what I'm wearing because that is my first finished object, and it has been nicknamed the Beast, and the Beast is finally finished. I'm so happy it's done for several reasons. I'm happy it's done because I love the finished item, also happy it's done because my hands were hurting by the end of it. I will put some pictures in of me wearing this so you can see it a little bit better fully on as well, but there you go, there's a bit of a shot here for you. This is the Patagonia Peaks by lovely Maya Déglon from Maya Tinks. It is a pattern currently in testing. It will be out in October, I believe. And I knit mine in, I'm just going to briefly recap, Starcraft Special Chunky in the shade Bluebell, King Cole Subtle Drifter Chunky, King Cole Paradise Beaches held double, Shapier Scrumptious held with Signet Sugar Spun, and I can't remember the colours of those. They were all deep stash and acrylic, as you can tell, for the most part. And it has made this extremely cosy dog walking jumper that I'm so excited to own. I didn't wear it today because of the threat of rain, but normally I am now wearing this on my dog walks or on my way into work because I've had so many compliments. So many people are really struck by how cool this colour combination is, but just the pattern as well. I mean, it's just fantastic. So if you're new, I'm going to very quickly recap because I've talked about this pattern for a very long time. Well, a very long time for me. I tend to go through my bits quite fast or abandon them completely. There seems to be no room in between, but if it's a test knit, it will get done. So the sweater is a chunky weight gauge, but originally knit on 2 strands of sport weight boucle held together, and you cast on here with a Judy's Magic cast on, or in my case I just use a regular cast on because this has got pretty good stitch definition. I don't know if you heard that massive sigh from the dog behind you right now. It's got really good stitch definition because it was really easy to pick up stitches and work down, but you start here and you work the first bit up in garter stitch with some decreases in the sleeve cap, and then you do what Maya calls the reverse ziggurat method, which she said she hasn't found anywhere done before, so she's not sure if she came up with it herself or not. It is so clever. It's so fun to knit, but it requires focus. That's what I would say. Then you do the collar, which is garter stitch folded over with the main colour and this first contrast colour, and you pick up stitches, and there's some clever workings to create this really neat button band. It's also really neat on the inside. I'm going to unbutton it. The only problem I've got, these are press stud buttons that I have purchased. They come with this sort of gun that you can use to squeeze them into place. And they are extremely hard to open and close. And I'm always a bit worried that I'm going to rip the fabric when I open them. So I'm not going to open this next one just in case it pops off. Actually, yes, you can see on the inside here how extremely neat this is. There we are. I'm going to close them again because I actually prefer the look of it closed. So once you finish the yoke, you actually go back and pick up those stitches that might be live. In my case, they weren't. And you change the stitch count slightly to accommodate for the fact that you're now working with more than one colour. And you create this pocket flap here, which I am yet to sew a lining for. Who knows when that's going to happen. And then you work the colour work. And as you can see, my colour work bunches a bit, especially on the sleeves, because this is acrylic. It is not meant to be used for colour work, or, you know, most people don't use it for colour work. But you create these peaks on the body and the sleeves, and they match up really nicely. There is a 5-stitch I-cord at the bottom of the sleeves and also the bottom hem, and I'll just get up and show you the tie at the bottom. So here you have an elastic with a cord stopper, with a cord, I don't know what this thing is called. It's not a cord stopper. It is, I've got fluff in my face. Oh, it's going well. It is called a, no, it's not coming to me. I'll insert here what it's called. But that sort of cinches it in at the bottom, gives it this kind of Patagonia fleece vibe that Maya was going for. And yeah, I'm so pleased with how this turned out. I'm so excited to wear this in the cooler season. Let's move on to finished object number 2, which is, by contrast, a summery garment. And it is my Aros sweater by Petiteknit that I knit in Drops Cotton Light, which is a cotton acrylic blend that I've spoken about a few times. It's a very dry cotton acrylic blend. And I knit mine in this stripy sequence. The Aros sweater is meant to be a striped sweater. It's DK weight, work top down, with a contiguous saddle shoulder. So it's not a saddle that you create first and then pick up stitches from, but rather rapid increases along this really narrow saddle. And the main modifications I made, my gauge was slightly big, so I removed a few increases. I believe I made size 3, but I didn't do the last few yoke increases that are done like a raglan, as you can see here. I omitted those, and my stripes are actually 10 row stripes instead of 8 row, just because I messed up on the very first stripe and didn't notice until the second one was complete. And just could not be bothered to go back. That was basically it. The other thing I changed is I made rolled edges, stockinette edges rather, here on the cuff as well. And on the bottom body, I just cast off regularly because I didn't really want a super rolled bottom edge, because I will probably be tucking this into my jeans, and I was worried that when you untuck it, there'll be odd kinks and things. So I just went for a regular finished hem, in the sense that I just cast off the normal way, the knit way. And it still curls a bit, but doesn't curl quite as much. And I'm not 100% sure if I like that part actually. So, but I haven't worn this yet. It's kind of, we've kind of gone from pretty warm to fairly chilly very quickly here in the UK. Chilly, but not so cold that we need to put the heating on, kind of chilly. So I've just started grabbing jumpers to wear, but not necessarily this kind of cottony fabric. I know it's cotton acrylic and a lot of my pieces are, but this does very much feel like a summer garment. So I haven't given this a whirl yet to wear, but I have tried it on. I'll put a picture in here so you can see how it looks on. And I'm really pleased it's finished, because if you've been here a while, you will know that I was umming and ahhing about whether I should actually finish this project. My third finished item has just come off the needles, hot off the needles. I have no finished item photos. I haven't even blocked this yet, so it definitely needs blocking. I'll put a picture in here of what it's supposed to look like. This is the White Day cardigan by Maya Déglon from Maya Tinks. And as you can see, I'm a serial test knitter for her. And I've just finished 2 test knits since the last episode of the podcast. So I think Maya needs to come up with a new test call very soon. So I've got another project by her on the needles, doesn't she? Because I just thoroughly enjoy her patterns. So this is the White Day cardigan. I'm going to hold it up. You might be able to see my bottom hem is really curling, but that's just because it isn't blocked. It is a, I would say, Aran weight gauge, worsted to Aran. And I knit mine in Yarn Smith's Pebble Haze in the shade Ludlamite. This is the Aran version of the Pebble Haze. See if I can, there we go. There we are. This is a top-down saddle shoulder cardigan, and you start off by working these saddles that are actually tapered, so all the shaping happens in the saddle rather than in the front and back where you pick up stitches from, which is kind of the more common way saddle shoulders are worked. On the back you can see it looks like this, so you actually join these saddles and work the whole thing across, which I think is very, very nice. And then if you want to look at the saddle, that's what it looks like. So there's a tapering all happening in here. You put the stitches on hold there and you pick them up later to work the sleeves. And then you work the front and back without any shaping really at the top here, because it's already happened in the saddles. There's a bit of underarm shaping, and then you work the body to the hem, and there's no ribbing in this cardigan, which is amazing because I'm not the biggest fan of ribbing. I don't mind ribbing, but my ribbing often looks a little bit sloppy because my knit and purl tensions are quite different. They're so different that I always have a larger needle on my interchangeables for the knits than for the purls, and sometimes I have to go down quite substantially so that I don't have to overcompensate and really tighten my purl stitches. So instead of having ribbing, there is a folded over hem at the bottom, and you work some decreases first before working that on a smaller needle and then folding it over. As you can see, it's wanting to flip a little bit at the moment, so it definitely needs a block. The sleeves are worked with lots of short rows at the top to create a shoulder cap, which is provides a really nice fit, removes too much bulk from the underarm. It's just excellent. And then you do lots of decreases and a little folded over cuff as well. And I've just finished this morning the button band, which is a double knit button band. Worked the very traditional double knit button band way. You start at the bottom right and work all the way around. You put buttonholes in that don't require cutting the yarn, which is my favourite way of working double knit button band buttonholes. Wow, that's quite a mouthful, isn't it? And Maya actually included some short rows in the button band at the back here, and you might be able to see them there and there. They are a tiny bit obvious in this yarn. I hope it will block out a little bit, but it does mean that because there's basically a bit of a fold in the fabric at your shoulders, otherwise there's the risk of the button band actually standing up a little bit and flaring up. So with this, it should really nicely lay on your shoulders. I have briefly tried it on and it does lay quite nicely. So far, I still need to block it and it will be even better then. My main concern I have right now are 2 things actually. Maya has put in optional bust shaping and optional body shaping, and I just decided to knit straight. Now I never need bust shaping. My upper bust and full bust are near enough the same. There's a couple of centimetres difference. It really isn't substantial, so bust shaping is just not something I require. Body shaping is something I might require more. My hips are quite a bit wider than my bust. But because the length between the underarm and the hem was actually not very much, I think it was 29 centimetres in total, I knew that this was ever so slightly cropped, so it would probably sit above my hips. And it does, but only almost, because the hem gathers in just a little bit thanks to the decreases. Again, this might block out slightly. So at the moment, I'm kind of getting 0 ease on the bottom, when I briefly tried it on last night. So we will see how that fits once it's blocked. So that's my one concern. Actually, I have another concern, and that is, again, these are both complete me problems. I should have checked if I need body shaping, and I didn't, because I hardly ever put body shaping in anything either, because I knit everything cropped or really oversized. Those are my two options. And the other thing that I did was I placed the buttonholes slightly wrong. Now, the way you should place buttonholes in any cardigan, if you're doing a double knit button band, if it has a V-neck like this has, you check where the final increases happened, and then you place your buttonhole pretty close to that, and you place the bottommost buttonhole pretty close to the bottom, and you find, you know, 1 or 2, however many buttons you're supposed to place, and you space them out evenly. But what I did, instead of placing the marker on where exactly I want the buttonhole to be, I placed them where I wanted the buttonhole to start, because I've done that loads of times and it normally works out fine. These buttonholes are actually quite short, they're quite small. You can see here, in the past I've done more buttonholes that were like quite a bit longer and used up more depth of the button band. And I kind of didn't notice that until I got to the top buttonhole, because the top edge of the hole should really line up with my last increase. And I can show you here, my last increase is here, the top of my buttonhole is here, and I know that's not a big difference, but I have a feeling that it might look a little bit funny when it's joined together. I also don't have buttons yet, so I can't even try this out to see how it will look. But I should have thought about that a little bit harder before I just went for it. I think a lot of people consider all the different steps of a double knit button band a bit more than I do, because everybody says how long they take and how tedious they are. And I actually find if I sit down and properly focus on them, they don't take me ages. They'll take me longer than a ribbed one, but they don't seem to take me quite as long as most people. So maybe I've just gone, oh, I'll be fine, and just I just went for it. I think it'll still be fine. I don't think it's going to be a major case of I need to rip this whole thing out. If I do, what I will do is cut the button band just below the second buttonhole and up here, remove the middle bit, rejoin yarn, knit this bit again, and respace the buttonholes to be slightly higher and slightly higher again, and then graft it on. It is an option, it won't take me forever, but at the moment I'm just going to leave it because I haven't even got buttons yet. I think if I get buttons that are fairly substantial, you won't notice it so much either. So I'm thinking of getting tone-in-tone buttons, just because that's a look I'm enjoying at the moment. Really minimal, barely visible buttons is kind of my vibe. Either that or completely out there mad pattern. There seems to be no in between. But yeah, White Day is finished. White Day is going to go for a bath. I think I should call it Mint Day, shouldn't I? Everything's mint with me at the moment. The other day I filmed a knit and chat, and what I was wearing was nicely matching what I was knitting on, and I've got another whip that's sort of a bit dormant. It's the same colour again. It's just my cup of tea, isn't it? If you've been here a while, you will know that. Speaking of the other mint whip that has been stalled, I thought I would quickly talk about it, because I'm not going to show you because it's at a bit of an awkward stage, but I think it's important to talk about fails and things that you have to change and reconsider in your knitting project. I cast on the Cara sweater by LeKnit, and you've probably heard me talk about this in my autumn knitting plans, and I was very excited to knit this sweater. I think it's very beautiful, and I knit mine, or cast mine on, in Drops Cotton Merino, in, again, a minty colour, pistachio ice cream. And yeah, I cast this on and it was fiddly at the start. I think the pattern is not the most user-friendly pattern. You really have to focus. It's completely doable and everything you need is in there. And I think it's actually quite clever how concise they've managed to make this pattern, but it doesn't hold your hand and doesn't really, how do I put it? All the charts are one page for all the sizes. It's quite mad. It was quite unexpected when I downloaded the pattern, and I actually started filming a project vlog for it because I thought it would be quite interesting to discuss. But since then, I have discovered that I'm getting quite a lot of hand and elbow pain from my knitting, especially from doing things that are fiddly, that require a little bit more grip. And cotton merino is probably not the best choice for cables. I wouldn't say it's like a complete no-no, because people do knit cables on summer garments as well that are often with cotton. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's a no, but I would also say that it's not the most ideal yarn. And it was starting to cause me quite a bit of pain, and therefore I've just had to put it down. So we will see if that gets picked up again, but at the moment that's just on some cord holders, some stitch holders rather, on you know, that silicone cord, and it's going to stay there for a bit, and we'll see if I revisit it. If not, I'll definitely use the yarn for something else. But I just wanted to share that because not everything is always a success, right? I'm going to show you the two things that I do have on my needles right now. And the first one is the early stages of my Rosie sweater. So I did cave, I did order yarn for the Rosie sweater. If you saw my plans video, you will know that it was more in the honourable mention section because I didn't have yarn for it yet. But I'm so overexposed to this pattern, it's just everywhere. It's on Instagram, on YouTube, on Ravelry, it's constantly in the hot right now. And I loved this pattern when it first got teased. So I thought, why not? I'm going to cast this on. This is a pattern by LeKnit again. And it features these absolutely beautiful bands of roses in colourwork on the body and the sleeves. And yeah, I've cast on. I'm knitting mine also in Yarn Smith's Pebble Haze. So at the moment, until I cast off my White Day cardigan this morning, I had 3 whips on the go with Yarn Smith's Pebble Haze, which is funny for someone who has declared not liking blown yarn in the past. But yes, I've cast mine on. This is the DK version of Yarn Smith's Pebble Haze. I should add, if you're not familiar with this yarn, it is a brand, an own brand from Wool Warehouse, which is a very large, pretty internationally actually, I think, well-known UK-based company. They sell all kinds of brands of yarn, but I think in the last year or two, they started developing their own yarn line, which is called Yarn Smiths, and the Pebble Haze is a blend of cotton and acrylic. It is a cotton tube with acrylic fibres blown inside, and it's really lovely to work with. I really enjoy it. I really hope it will wear well, because I don't have a full garment in Pebble Haze that I've washed a few times and worn a few times. I've got like elements on my Magnus cardigan, but not lots. So anyway, this is just the top stockinette part, and what was quite surprising for me is this is it's kind of a contiguous yoke, tailored shoulder but oversized. I'm not even sure what construction this is, to be honest, or if it features several different constructions in one, but the short rows on the upper back were extremely shallow. Apologies, I think I've just been cut off and I'm not entirely sure why and where I got stopped. But if you look on the edge here, the depth versus the depth in the centre back is almost the same. So there wasn't many short rows to be worked at the start. And I think pretty soon I'm going to enter the bit where I pick up stitches and do other stuff. So I think I'm slightly running out of storage space, and I think that is why I keep getting cut off. So hopefully this will be coherent once you see it. But this is the shade, I want to say limestone. And I've got a really beautiful pink shade for the colourwork that I will show you when we reach the colourwork, shall I? So I think I'm going to have to hurry up through my last whip just to make sure I'm not running out of space. But it is a very exciting whip, and I'm really happy to be showing you this project. This is the Laura scarf by Anna Stephenson. She is known as Yarn Moomin on Instagram, but her design page is known as House of Budlier, and she showed this scarf pattern on her Instagram, and I immediately fell in love with the gingham. I just think it's so cool, and I love that because it has long floats. No, how should I put this? I love that a gingham kind of colourwork has long floats, but it doesn't matter because this is in the round. It's a tube. It's closed at the end, so there's no issue of catching floats on your fingers or anything like that, like you would have in a garment, because let me tell you, despite ladderback jacquard, when I put my arms through this sleeve, I have to be so careful not to catch the floats with my fingers. But here it doesn't matter. So this is the Laura scarf. It is currently in testing. I am knitting mine also in Yarn Smith's Pebble Haze, which is actually a recommended yarn for this pattern. And this is the Aran version in the shades Lapis Lazuli and Marble. And I'm so far really, really enjoying it. I'm learning a lot about my colourwork tension when knitting this. You start with Judy's Magic Cast On, you work a little bit in Magic Loop before you then join on short circulars, or rather proceed in short circulars. And I'm trying to make sure that my colours stay dominant all the time in the same way. So I'm not changing colours from one hand to the other, which I would be inclined to do because I'm a continental knitter. And my natural inclination would be to knit the bit here where I have a white full square with white on my left hand and blue on my right hand, and then switch over when I get to this bit here, because I don't want to knit too much with my right hand, because English style knitting doesn't come natural to me. And actually I've knit this whole chunk of colourwork using the two-handed colourwork method, which works pretty well. I've gotten quite used to it. I knit this whole thing with the two-handed method, and by now my English style tension is fairly decent, at least on the right side in terms of knitting. If I had to purl English style, it would be a complete mess. But this morning I just watched the fibreAbend episode. I will try and link them down below. fibreAbend, they're called. They're a German podcasting duo. They're also known as Tweed and Twill on Instagram. And one of the lovely ladies in that podcast, Svenja, showed with a camera that she installed above her how she does her colour work. And she does it all continental, all on one hand. And I've tried this before, and I got in such a tangle, especially because if you've got colour work like this, if your colour work was just always one by one, you know, changing colour every other stitch, that would be quite easy to manage with one hand. But because in this particular colourwork, you've got a massive chunk here of just one colour. And I was always worried that the other colour that you're not using was going to get really loose on your hand. And the only thing I've been doing wrong is that I've been weaving it through my hand the wrong way. So the way she explains this is that one colour has to go through your fingers in one way and the other colour in a completely different way so that this doesn't happen. And I tried it out and I was completely mind blown. So I'm totally converted. I'm changing now to all continental colourwork from here on out. So we have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares done, 5 repeats. I'm going to change here and see if it changes massively in terms of my tension, and see if it changes in terms of my enjoyment, because my biggest problem with two-handed colour work is that one ball is here, one ball is here. I've got them flying all over the place. I normally have a dog laying next to me that might be on the ball, or have this ball, you know, moving around in their face that they don't enjoy. So this is going to be my practice of doing it just continental. I'm going to then proceed on the Rosie sweater to try and just do it continental. And if it works for me, I might treat myself to a very nice knitting ring, because Svenja was recommending a knitting ring. And I have actually got some really cheap ones, so I'm going to try those out first, see if that helps. And if I like it, it would be nice to have like a good one. So that's kind of my thinking on colourwork. But I now basically just have these 2 projects on the go, so I need to think about other things that I could cast on. And the sensible thing to do would be to pick up my halibut sweater, because that is just in the round knitting at the moment. And once I've reached the colourwork on the Rosie sweater, that's definitely not going to be a mindless project anymore. But I kind of also fancy something completely new. So I might think about casting on the Sylvan sweater, because that's been on my mind. And I've got more Pebble Haze for the Sylvan sweater. So this is my Pebble Haze era. I hope you like it. And I hope you don't mind me raving about this yarn for ages. And I really hope that I'm not going to have a complete meltdown if it doesn't wear well in the future. I'm sure it's going to need shaving. these things happen, right? Anything soft probably needs shaving. This will need shaving. It is part of it, isn't it? But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was a bit chaotic and rambly, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you very soon. Thank you for watching, and happy knitting. Bye bye.